Hey, it's Josh from Automation Institute. Welcome to Lesson 5 of the Marketing Process Automation course. In this lesson, we look at the convergence of automation of marketing processes and automation as a strategy. In almost every industry, we have observed that marketing ops practitioners are spending a significant amount of time supporting various technologies and software-mediated processes. In order to flip that paradigm, marketing operations must embrace the interconnections between marketing, RevOps, and IT and lead the charge in enterprise automation. The ultimate motivation for marketing is to deliver a superior customer experience by connecting operations end-to-end across the customer journey. We see three core capabilities that lay a foundation for expanding automation as a marketing strategy: data warehousing, recipe structure, and bot execution. Data warehousing. Almost all marketing organizations have embarked on a transformation journey to become more data-driven in an effort to provide more relevant experiences for their customers. However, despite investment in various technologies, there's often little being done to tackle customer data unification across these systems. To fully realize the benefits of things like multi-touch attribution, personalization initiatives, and AI-driven customer experiences, it's critical to develop a holistic data strategy rather than tackling one issue at a time. Let's go over some data warehousing best practices. Best practice 1, develop a comprehensive data strategy. Data is only useful once you have refined it. Much like how unrefined oil can't be used to power an engine, unrefined data can't be used to power your go-to-market motion. Setting your objectives up front makes it easier to build out the remainder of your data strategy. Think about what data your users will need to access while you're establishing how you will measure the success of your data-driven initiatives. Given that most practitioners are spending 35% of their time in manual processes like data extraction and manipulation and interpretation, it's important to identify the capabilities required for your workforce to manage data-driven practices. Marketers have an array of third-party data providers to enrich their data sets and power decision-making. It's important to validate that each vendor supports key capabilities to ensure that they meet the requirements of your data strategy. Storage, security, accessibility, and a clear use case roadmap are important when looking at these vendors. The velocity and complexity of data handling is increasing, so it's critical to consider integration and automation to orchestrate the holistic operation of your data strategy. Best practice 2, identifying sources needed. Given the ocean of customer and prospect data at your disposal, it's important to zero in on what data is required to advance your objectives. Across the customer journey, there are various silos of data, from web and mobile analytics and social data to third-party firmographic, intent, and technographic data, and then your own customer product usage data and billing data. With this full suite of data, you'll observe multiple silos of data across third-party providers, CRM and marketing automation, and internal applications. To avoid relying on the intensive engineering resources required to maintain these data sets, consider leveraging an integration and automation platform with native connectors to support extracting, transforming, and loading data into a consolidated data warehouse. Automation can then be used to call on these connectors to create custom views into the full customer data story. Best practice 3, unify data to create a single source of truth. Once the data is loaded and stored into one platform, it's important to consider ongoing advancement and applications of the data. Whether it's structured or unstructured data, the platform you use must be sufficient to concurrently run workloads from both customers and employees. Best practice 4, make data available to other functions. A centralized data set can be used to connect your marketing data use cases with cohorts outside of your technical teams. Consider being able to execute things like sales notifications, customer onboarding programs, billing workflows, or supply chain integration. This will further enhance the customer experience. If your integrated data platform connects with other functions that service the customer, it's critical to develop sufficient governance and control frameworks. The trade-off for implementing a mature practice with multiple connected systems is the need to manage computational bottlenecks, data privacy, compliance, and security concerns that come with that. Recipe structure. Recipes are automations for running a business process. They can be as simple as surfacing revenue opportunities by linking Salesforce to Slack, or as complicated as automating a multi-app employee onboarding process. Triggers are the events that start the recipe or automation. These events could be something like a new or updated lead, a new order, or an updated support ticket. Triggers come in a few forms, and the type of trigger you choose depends on what you want to achieve with that recipe. Regardless of your level of technical knowledge, the most important best practice for recipe design is to understand the process you are trying to automate with a recipe. Before you even begin, think about the following. What problem will the recipe solve? What business apps do you need? Is this process time sensitive? What are the business rules or logic? What exceptions may occur? Once you understand your business process, here are a few things you can think about as you build a recipe in your system of choice. Choosing the right trigger type, controlling the trigger data, modularity and reuse, handling errors and exceptions. Choosing the right trigger type. There are a variety of trigger types you can choose from based on your intended outcome and goals. Real-time triggers are used when a time-sensitive response to events is required, such as lead enrichment and routing. If you don't follow up on a lead within 5 minutes, your chances of conversion drop dramatically. Polled triggers are used to respond to less time-sensitive events and check for new events at regular intervals. Take the example of deal management. Closed opportunities require paperwork, invoices generated, accounts provisioned, etc. These tasks are less time-sensitive than working with unconverted leads, but still follow a specific event. Scheduled triggers fire at a specified time. These work best when you need to do things like send out a daily report. Batch triggers are the same as polled triggers, but they process large volume requests and return multiple records at the same time. They work best for the processing of large volumes of information that require little to no manipulation. Controlling trigger data. Now that you know what types of triggers there are and when to use them, it's time to think about optimizing the trigger data. In automation, you want a streamlined process to target only the events that you want to ingest. There are two main ways to filter your triggers: at the source and by a specific condition. Filtering at the source. Poll and batch triggers work by querying an app like Salesforce for records. We can often use additional fields to narrow down the query, with our options varying depending on the trigger app. In our Salesforce example, we can modify the type of top-level object we want returned, choose which fields should be retrieved, or even use Salesforce Object Query Language, or SOQL. Some other apps, including ServiceNow and Jira, also offer app-specific query languages. Whenever possible, use these options to make your trigger match your specific business needs. Filtering by condition. After getting our responses from Salesforce, we can still filter further. Often, you can create conditional logic based on any data returned by the trigger. You may also want to filter based on data from other systems involved in the process. For example, if I want to create an automation to trigger engagement from an executive sponsor, I can filter my trigger to capture only accounts with a rating of warm or hot. I can also filter based on that sponsor's calendar availability to ensure that they can support the engagement. Here are a few examples of trigger considerations. You can see there are different considerations like what object, changes in data, past and future data, how time sensitive it is, and even how many are needed at a time. Modularity and reuse. In order to maintain a uniform customer experience while maximizing efficiency, try to reuse automations instead of redoing the same work again and again with small modifications. Developers handle this by writing functions that they can call as needed. However you approach it, reusing recipes can boost your productivity, make your automations more readable, and lower maintenance costs over time. For a deeper dive into this, check out the Using Recipe Functions course in the Automation Institute. Handling errors and exceptions. When automating traditionally manual processes like reconciling invoices, you can introduce risk by removing human judgment. Humans are able to identify the exceptions or deviations and decide how to handle them. You need to allow for this when creating an automation. Developers use try-catch patterns to monitor code for errors and describe what to do if something goes wrong. With proper planning, you can build recipes and automations that efficiently target the right data at the right time, all while managing the risk that errors can impose. Bot execution. Customer-facing roles are spending an average of 35% of their time on non-customer-focused activities. This is due to the administrative overhead of updating data across an increasing number of apps due to the exponential growth in go-to-market technology. Customizable bots eliminate the app hopping and bring the capabilities of these services into one harmonized interface. App and bot functionality ranges from click navigational bots or personal assistants to enterprise platform bots which coordinate, execute, and bring information to your individual contributors on demand. Notification bot, new lead. This Slack bot notifies your XDR of new leads captured in your marketing automation platform. This bot consolidates multiple sources of relevant information into one interface, including scoring, account, and persona information. Users can take the action within the bot to accept, reject, or disqualify the lead, all within one platform. Information bot, intent notification. Leveraging a bot for time-sensitive insights, like intent data, ensures immediate action of the intelligence. In the G2 bot, we can see details on an account level in addition to seeing which content is being engaged with. To complete the picture of this hand raiser, multiple sources of information are pulled in, including account ownership, known contacts, and historical activity on the account. Authorization bot, quote approval. Where users execute repetitive administrative tasks, bots are used to expedite the process. The authorization bot for quote approval routes multi-level approvals between sales, finance, and legal. The bot manages each stage of notifications to relevant stakeholders and in parallel updates underlying CRM and CPQ systems. In addition, any approval delays are captured and parties notified to eliminate bottlenecks. The uptick in revenue from addressing automation as a strategy within marketing is on average of 34%. To continue exploring how to adopt automation within your company, sign up for an automation roadmap consultation with our RevOps subject matter experts. In this session, you will see firsthand how Workato is supporting companies like yours in improving the customer experience and driving bottom line growth.